Hey guys, I am live here today with AJ Mirzhad, online super coach who trains people and especially personal trainers how to go online and basically change their business model and the structure for how they run their lives. So AJ, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great, brother. So great to be here. Honor to be on your show.
Dude, it's been awesome. It's been a long time in the making, hasn't it?
Yes, we've been connecting for quite some time, and now we're just up in each other's faces.
Yes, so brother. Dude, so I know a bit about your background, but for those who don't, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? How do you get to where you are today, and what's the journey been like?
How far back do we go? So let's start way back. How I got into what I'm doing now. I was a chubby kid most of my life. Literally had chipmunk cheeks, man boobs, a big old belly, and most of my life I was overweight. So I realized that I needed to get myself into shape, and that's where I got into the world of fitness. And throughout a year, I put myself through a massive transformation. I lost 60 pounds, and that gave me like this newfound confidence and body and mindset. And I decided to become a personal trainer. And I did that for about 10 years up until the point where, I was training clients back to back, getting up at 5 a.m., working till 10 p.m., trading hours for dollars. And then I got burnt out. So I'm like, all right, well, I can't sustain this type of lifestyle just being a personal trainer and working, 7 days a week training clients. So that's when I started to develop my online fitness business. And that was around 2010. And that started taking off. So from the progression of that led me to really help other fitness professionals and coaches to grow their online coaching businesses. So the rest is history. That's my main focus right now. I still run my online weight loss business, but my big passion is helping fitness professionals and coaches to run their online fitness coaching businesses.
Okay, so having gone through those things yourself, what are the biggest obstacles that PTs face? Obviously, you're going to PT because you're obviously making your own changes, or you're passionate about it, you're all about the love, and you want to go that 24/7 hustle, and you realize, oh crap, it's not sustainable to work 24/7. How do you make that shift to, I guess, the more sustainable business model? What was the biggest learnings for you?
I think that in every business model, there's like an evolution, right? So most people, they start off doing one-on-one, whether it's one-on-one coaching or one-on-one training. And that's great to get started, to basically get some results, to work with clients, and to understand a person's body, injuries, customization. But over time, you tend to build out that model, and there's only so many hours in the day. So my personal belief is to transition from one-to-one to one-to-many, and then to take the skill sets that you have and develop more of a leveraged platform, right? Because as you progress and grow, you want to help more people, not just locally, but globally. So I truly feel that we all have what I call a superpower. It's a skill set, a unique ability that it's great to hone in person, but over time, you want to be able to develop that into something more leveraged to help many more people.
Okay. So this is something that all the online PT coaches say. You need to leverage, you need to do this. Let's put that into English that anyone can understand.
Okay, simplify. Obviously, every business evolves, right? Every business owner wants to grow. They want to increase their finances, increase their freedom, and have more fulfillment, okay? So there's many different ways for businesses to grow, right? One is basically increasing your prices or selling more often, right? But in let's say a fitness business, if a person is a sole proprietor and they're training clients back to back, yes, there's going to be a certain level that they could raise their prices or take on more clients. But at the end of the day, there's only so many hours in a 24 period. So what you want to do is to find out, like, what is this skill set that I have? And now how can I help many more people with it? So instead of trading hours for dollars, you could develop more of a system or an online program. So you take that same skill set, the same results you get for your clients, and use an online infrastructure. So instead of working with people one-to-one, you have many more people that could go through a virtual system and get the same result.
Okay, brilliant. So, with that online virtual system, how do you go about learning that? What was your process?
Yeah, so I will walk you through what I did and what I teach my students. Essentially, if you have a process in person, right, there's a certain way of you getting your clients results. So you want to take your process and put it through like an online system. So essentially, let's say, for example, if I want to help a person lose 20 pounds, right, it's going to take me 12 weeks.
Was there a huge echo in that room?
I believe there's a bit of an echo. I don't have a lot of furniture back here. It's a big ass basement with high ceilings. So,
all good.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you fine. I'm just hearing this like whoop, echo back and forth. It's all good.
Yeah, I recently moved into this house, so there's a lot of open space and there's a lot of echoes. So that's why.
That's good. We'll touch on that a bit later. I'm curious about the journey for you personally because you've gone from
yeah.
Anyway, so you go online and you're. I've got an interesting question here. She's wondering if the same model would work for DIY copy. So showing people how to do copywriting, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, essentially, you could take any process and turn it into a virtual infrastructure. So if you're a copywriter, and let's say, for example, you have a process where you're teaching your copy, let's say over a 12-week period, essentially, you say to yourself, okay, here's client day 1, here's client day 90. How do you map out their process from day 1 to day 90? What do you give them week by week, day by day, different tasks, different ways to hold them accountable, to do assessments? And then as they're progressively increasing, they're going to get to their main result at the end of that 12-week process.
Okay. I guess what I'm hearing people say here, though, is face-to-face, one-on-one, you're going to get the personal results. You're going to kick their butt, and they're going to get in the shape that in fitness-wise. How do you maintain that same level of, I guess, commitment and quality online?
You know, it's actually fascinating. There's a recent New York Times study that said that online personal training actually gets better results than in-person training. They found that they have seen more technology to do the assessments, the accountability. So, I mean, nowadays, everything is trackable. Like I wear a Fitbit, I use MyFitnessPal. Every element of your fitness journey can be tracked and tweaked. So there's actually more accountability with these softwares and apps. So a lot of people have this misconception that they could only get results in person, but with today's technology and as it's exponentially improving, you're going to have better results using a lot of the systems to coach a person 24/7. Essentially, if you're going to a personal trainer, you're going to see them 3 times a week, an hour a day. But if you have an online program, you're using an app, you're using software, so it's tracking every single move that you do.
Let's talk about the community aspect of it from Lynn here. She's saying she bets the community makes it better because of the sport and the pressure to avoid slacking off. Have you found that a big difference?
Yes, absolutely. The community, that's the whole thing. You know, we're social creatures. We do better with tribes. Evolution-wise, that's how we came up. Same thing with like technology, with communities, with apps. I see Adam's on the line and Edie. Hello.
I guess the next question here is, can we get a specific? So Michael, the PT, comes to you. He's already working 40, 50 hours at his gym each week. Huge days, I don't know. He's working 50 hours stupid. He works 80 hours a week. How does he go into the online space? Does he need to create videos? Does he need to create a Facebook page? Does he need to set up doing Twitter? How does he go into the online world?
Yeah, great question. So the most important thing that you're doing to transition from in-person to online is to focus on a specific target market, right? So the person who's doing, let's say, fitness locally, they're focused on like doing weight loss or muscle building, and that's a very general concept, right? Because people are just hiring them by geography. Locally, there's no other choice. When you're going online, you want to be a specialist, okay? It's the same thing in the medical community. Here in the States, we have a general doctor, then we have a brain surgeon, right? What's the difference between a general doctor and a brain surgeon? Well, one's a generalist. They will take on anyone. A brain surgeon's a specialist, right? One doctor makes 6 figures, the other does 7 figures. So in the online fitness world, you want to be very specialized, focusing on a specific target market. An example of that is, locally you could just be a weight loss expert. If you're going online, you want to help busy dads age 29 to 55 that work in the corporate arena. All right, that's very niche, that's very specific, but you're going to stand out a lot more in the marketplace than just being an online weight loss expert, because everyone is an online weight loss expert. So you want to be a specialist in a specific target market.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your early days? Like, you said you were a chubby kid yourself. What was that? What is it that, talk about the personal development there, what happened to get you in that place that you weren't happy with? Can you talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'll go back. I'll go way back, definitely.
It's getting deep, man. This is getting deep, if you don't want to.
Yeah, so, I basically grew up, and I was a person who's very insecure most of my life. I was in a position where I was shy. I literally stuttered for the first 20 years, and I had depression. I remember being a young kid feeling depressed, and what would soothe my soul was eating. I was an emotional eater. So I was eating a lot of food to, in a sense, blur my emotions. And that's what led me to put on the weight. And then as I got older, I still had these insecurities and these issues. But once I came of age, I replaced food for drugs and alcohol. And I got into excessively drinking and doing recreational drugs, you name it, cocaine, ecstasy, hardcore shit.
Yeah.
So I was always in a place that I was looking for something outside of myself to make me feel better, right? So whether it was food, whether it was drinking a bottle of Bacardi 151 or snorting lines of cocaine, it was like this whole thing of like looking outside of myself for happiness.
Still validation.
Right? And I realized that over time that like nothing was, in a sense, soothing my appetite, right? And that's when I got into getting in issues with drugs and alcohol, overdosing, excessively eating to the point where I was 60 pounds overweight. So that's why I realized that this is going to lead me down a very dark path if I continue it. And that's why I realized I needed to make a change in my early 20s. That's when I decided to focus on the body first.
You realized that what made you realize that? Is there a specific event, a specific kind of trigger that just went, oh shit, this needs to change?
Absolutely. So to make a long story short, I was a big party guy, so I would go out and drink like crazy, do crazy amounts of drugs, like binging, like enough drugs to kill an elephant. And it was many times when I overdid it and I overdosed, and it wasn't the first time that I overdosed. I ended up in an ER.
And I've done that myself when I was like 16.
Yeah, man.
Drinking, man.
It's terrible.
Numb the pain.
But, it's hitting rock bottom that makes you have a change. It's getting to that point of saying like, damn, if I continue on this path, I'm going to die. So that's when you tend to wake up.
Okay. So you've done that a couple of times, but is it just because you did a few times like, okay, well, I've really got to think about this, or did something come in with your family or a friend or a significant other, or was it just, hey, it's time to change?
So the biggest change happened to me actually wasn't a drug overdose. It was a supplement overdose. So I will try to like abbreviate the story for everyone's time and everything. But essentially,
we got time, so it's all good.
Yeah. So I was in this big phase of like losing weight and getting cut, and I was willing to do whatever it takes to get to this goal. And that's at the time I was taking a lot of different supplements, so being the guy I realized that like instead of paying for the supplements, I could order the raw material and make my own supplements. So I found out how to import raw powders from China. And at the time, I was developing like this fat burning supplement for myself. And it was basically a very strong ingredient called yohimbine HCl, right? It's like literally 10 times stronger than caffeine. It's a very, very strong stimulant per milligram. So one day I was getting myself ready to go to the gym to take this pre-workout supplement, and I made a grave mistake. Instead of taking my pre-workout mix, which I put into a bottle and I mixed it into a shaker, I actually poured in an entire bottle of yohimbine HCl raw powder. So the average serving is 3 milligrams, but I took 3,000 milligrams at once. And I drank it, and it wasn't until seconds later I knew something was wrong. So at that point in time, literally I ingested 3,000 times the dose, essentially knowing that like a poison was in my system. So I freaked out. I'm like, shit, I'm going to die. Like I knew in that moment that I literally had minutes to live. So the first reaction was to go to my toilet, put my head over the bowl and try to vomit it out, and nothing was coming out. So I'm like, shit, I went on Google and I looked at the lethal effective dose and like nothing was coming up. I'm like, all right, I have to make a decision right now. I have to get myself to an emergency room because I just drank this poison and my heart's going to explode. So if I call the ambulance, it may take them a bit long to come. I'll have a heart attack and die here. So how about if I just drive myself to the emergency room and maybe we could, get this stuff out of my system. So I remember I just went upstairs. I got my little brother and I said, we have to go to the hospital. I just drank this supplement. I think something's going to go wrong. I don't want to freak him out. So I said, I'll drive. Yeah. And I remember like getting to the hospital. It was about 5 minutes away from my house. The moment I got out of the car, it was like the entire world was melting. It was like this crazy, like psychedelic experience. Whatever was in my system, it was getting into my bloodstream and like the whole world was melting. It was like, holy shit, I've never tripped so hard in my life. I've taken a lot of drugs, but nothing like that. Like my whole world is melting, right? So I run into the emergency room. I grab the doctor and I say, I just drank a poison. I'm going to die. Please help me. And the first reaction that he had was like, man, this guy's like a crackhead, right? He probably gets people running in saying they're overdosed on drugs all the time. So he's like, hey, young man, relax. There's a procedure here. Sit down, fill out this plaque, and we're going to get to you. There's people that have been waiting a very long time. But I was like, you don't understand. I took the supplement. I'm going to die. Please help me. And I'm like sweating profusely. I'm like obviously shaking. I have the stimulant in my system. And he's like, calm down. So like, I'm like, all right, whatever. Got to go with the procedure. I have the plaque in my hand, start writing down my name. By the time I get to the A, the plaque falls on my hand, the pen falls out, and I just black out completely. So weird. It was like, at that point in time, I felt nothing. I was freaking out in that chair, didn't know what to do. And then it was pure darkness. Then I got into a place where my eyes open up and I'm surrounded by doctors and nurses. And I'm like, whoa. I black out again and I come back out and it's like my entire life literally is just being put in front of me. Seeing the first time I learned how to ride a bike, to going into middle school, graduating high school, my first car, going to college, like every detailed experience of my life is literally flashing in front of me. And it felt so surreal. Like I was like watching a movie of my life, but I wasn't there. You know what I mean? It was like a third person type of thing.
Like an near-death experience type thing, or?
Absolutely. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was so detailed and so vivid. So this literally felt like a short period. And next thing I know, like I come back into consciousness and my mom's by the side of my bed and she's like, you're awake. And I'm like, what happened? Cause like I went into the hospital on a Saturday and then I just blacked out and had all this weird shit happen. And she said, it's Tuesday. And I'm like, Tuesday? Like what happened? She's like, you were in a coma for the past 5 days. You were admitted to the hospital. They basically put you on life support. Your heartbeat was 200 beats per minute and it wasn't going down. So there was a moment where I flatlined and then they pumped me full of like some type of, drug that basically lowers your heart rate. It just puts you like to sleep. The opposite of a stimulant, a depressant. And all of a sudden, they got my heart rate back down, and they put me on life support. So I was in a coma. Then I woke up literally 5 days after, and I was like, what the hell happened? And my mom explained to me everything, and I was like, holy shit, like this. I was trying to like process it all, but it was like this freak accident, and really wondered like, why did this happen? Like, it wasn't like an illegal drug. It was like a freak accident. I took too much of a supplement. I ended up in a coma. 5 days, near-death experience, came back to life, and it was like a crazy, profound experience for me because I just kept on thinking about my mortality, like seeing my family crying, putting them through hell. And I thought about my whole life, like, man, if I would have died that day, like, what would have happened, right? Born this day, died that day, but what did I accomplish in between? And I just thought about all my decisions, like the toxic friends that I had, the drugs I was doing, really not doing much with my life. And that's when I said, wow, this must be a sign. Like I have to do something with my life because this is a second chance. So from that moment on, I decided to live my life very differently, as if I had a second chance, as if I'm not promised another day. So I just went to work on myself. Like I wasn't reading any books. I started to like read 20, 30 books a year. And I started to really get serious with my health. I stopped doing drugs, stopped drinking, sobered up my life. And at the same time, I thought about leaving a legacy because I'm like, now I have a second lease on life. Now I have to like just change things. I like literally a few months after that experience, I quit my 9-to-5 job. I started my business. And like that was my turning point. Like that incident, that near-death experience, being in a coma, all of a sudden put me towards this whole different path in life. And that was like literally 10 years ago. So that like shaped my entire life. That one crazy freak accident.
That's huge, man. Like, it kind of tells everyone where you're coming from, and it kind of explains why it is you do what you do. At least it does for me. Like, I find what most fascinating is the drivers and what people are motivated by. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I get emotional telling that story, because it's something I don't share too often. But like, I look back on that experience, and that was like my turning. Like literally every single day when I wake up, I'm grateful to be alive, because being so close to death, like I cherish every single breath that I take. And I realize that like literally I could die tomorrow. So like I live every day like it's my last to the fullest, and try to like capitalize on every single moment that I have.
I think once you've experienced death in whatever fashion it might be, yourself or people close to you, you do change as a person. That really allows you to see life for what it is and what it could be.
Exactly. And, obviously, I truly feel everything happens for a reason. So whether a person has a near-death experience or a severe trauma or terminal illness, like they could use that as a gift, as an insight, as a reminder that like, life is very transient. It comes and it goes. And it's like, holy cow, like, everything that you want to do, like you got to do it now, right? I was reading this book about the regrets of the dying, and the number one regret of each dying person is not living the life that they've always wanted to, not living their truth. Like looking back on their life and being like, shit, I wanted to start a business, or I wanted to be an artist, or I wanted to really speak my mind and write a book, but they never did it. So they're going into their grave full of regrets of all the things they did not do.
I guess that leads me to the next question. Why fitness then? What is it that called you to use fitness as your vehicle for expressing yourself in the world?
I think all the years of being overweight, being depressed and insecure, like I kind of felt like I didn't have a lot of control in my life. And for me, like I'm very extreme, from going to like drinking alcohol, doing cocaine, just getting messed up, just really destroying my mind and my body, towards doing the opposite. So what fitness allowed me to do was to take control of my life, to basically eat healthy, to exercise, to do cardio, to manipulate my physical appearance, changing my confidence, my energy. And with fitness, it's like, wow, you have control. You have control over what you eat, how you exercise, and how much of your life you devote to being healthy. And once I realized that, wow, with fitness, I'm able to make a transformation, I'm able to make a positive change, what else in my life can I change? Like for me, fitness was my ultimate gateway drug. And shortly after I got my body to where I wanted to be, I then focused on my mindset. I literally went back to school and got my master's degree in psychology and said, how can I become passionate, happy, full of energy all the time, right? If I could condition my body to be fit and healthy, how can I condition my mind to always be sharp, focused, creative, and passionate? And once I started doing that, then I looked at all the areas of my life, my business, right? Why is it that some people make millions of dollars a year and other people struggle financially? So I realized everything in life we have control over, right? Like just like there's a formula to get a six-pack, there's a formula to make $100,000 a month. All you have to do is follow the step-by-step recipe and you'll get the end result.
It's cool, man. So I guess you go on this journey now, you're trying to work out how to piece it together for yourself, and it's raising your contribution in the world, because most PTs get the point like, okay, you've sold out, why are you going online? But it's also the point where, you know, if you really want to contribute, you need to reach more people. So
absolutely. That's the thing, right? At the end of the day, it's being fueled by contribution, right? Because obviously the money is great and, you know, you could buy what you want and get what you want, but that's not the ultimate driver, right? Money comes and goes, but what true fulfillment is contributing, changing someone's life, right? That's my biggest driver. To me, when a person is transformed, when they say, you changed my life, like that is the ultimate currency. Someone's happiness, someone's longevity, a new belief system that they have, right? Because like I said, we all know that money doesn't bring you happiness, but what comes with fulfillment is impacting lives, right? So I think at the end of the day, like that's what we're remembered for, right? No one looks at someone's life and say, oh, he was a great man. He had all these mansions and exotic cars. No, they judge you by like the amount of love that you showed, the amount that you cared, the amount that you helped and gave, right? So it's realizing that, like, you know, your entire life, it's not the money, right? It's the amount of love that you shared along your journey.
Are you getting comments on your end?
I gotta check my phone.
Man. You gotta check this one out. I'm sorry, it's too good.
I'm gonna check it right now. Yeah, I have it on my computer, but it's a bit slow.
It's got Matty Wolf saying,
true fulfillment is perfect facial hair. You handsome bastard. Back at you, Manny. Thank you. You're making me blush.
So,
awesome.
Getting back more to practical kind of stuff, with fitness, a PT professional comes to you, you've already done it. So, how do they actually build this platform? Do they get someone else to do it, or let's talk about specifics. If I have a PT, I work with women aged 30 to 40. How do I create an online platform for them, and then how do I just get people into it and build my own? Reach them.
So it's a great question. So if you're a specialist in that demographic, working with females, specific age group, specific goals, then at the end of the day, like most of the women that come to you are going to have the same goals, typically on the same exact journey. So essentially, if you're developing like an online program, you're going to have a lot of the same systems, a lot of the same nutrition, exercise, and cardio. First thing you want to do is basically map it out on a piece of paper, saying that, like, you know, here's my client typically on day 1, and here's where my client wants to be by day 90, right? Let's say a 3-month process. So you would map out their journey, right? Every week, what type of nutrition plan would you send them? Workout plan, cardio. Once you get the framework down on a piece of paper, on a mind map, on a notepad, what have you, I then recommend getting a professional, getting a coder, a web designer to take your vision, your framework, your transformation program, and to put it into technology. And nowadays, you have tons of technology. You have obviously membership portals, you have different softwares and different apps. So it's kind of like customizing.
There's a million and one options. What do you recommend, though? There's a million and one options. Do you have any favorites yourself?
Well, me personally, I have an online weight loss program and I use a membership portal. I use a software called Lean Buddy, and I use like an email autoresponder. I
Yeah.
use Active Campaign with automated text messages. So essentially, my client goes into a virtual online journey, and then they have an app called Lean Buddy that they're checking in. They're
Yeah.
taking photos of their food. They're basically checking in their body weight when they're exercising. So a big part of the online coaching element is having a two-sided conversation. So you can't just expect the client to go and read an ebook or watch a video. They want to be held accountable. So how can you use different wearable apps and technology so people could communicate and check in when they are doing their homework, essentially?
So the portal is really just for the information, but everything that in terms of tracking and all the accountability stuff goes through Lean Body.
Yes, that's the software that I use. Correct.
Okay, cool. In terms of membership portals, are you looking at stuff like WordPress? Are you looking for like LMS systems? What is it that you tend to prefer?
I personally just use WordPress wishlist member. I use that
Yeah.
for my back end. There's so much options out there. And that's a great thing about the world that we live in, especially in my specific target market, online coaching. Every single year, technology exponentially improves. So you'll never have options in terms of taking your skill set and matching an app, a software, a technology that could do that online.
Okay. And how does accountability work for you? Because you've got the membership portal that isn't really, you might be able to measure what they go into and some of the stuff they do, but most of it, I'm assuming, is coming from Lean Body in terms of the data you look at. Did you say
Yes,
something else?
So I'm a big believer in gamification. So years and years of studying psychology and human behavior, gamification is one of the most powerful ways to hold people accountable to make their fitness a game, essentially. So essentially what I do is I create like a point system. I really love companies like Weight Watchers, how they really simplify the process. So let's say, for example, my client would get a daily reminder of here are the activities I want you to do today for your water intake, for your exercise, for your cardio, for your nutrition, and each activity earns a certain amount of points. So at the end of the day, they have to check in with how many points they got. So higher points, more success; lower points, they were being lazy. So essentially, they earn points by playing a game, which makes it fun, but it's also easier for me to track, right? Because I don't want to look at a client's every single meal or track every single exercise that they do. I don't want to have all this data. So I create a point system that they have to check in with their points every single day.
Okay. Is this Lee Labrada's Lean Body that you're talking about?
No, there's two. Lean Body, that's a supplement line. Lean Buddy, like
A buddy.
we're buddies.
Right.
Buddy, yes.
Americans, man. You and your buddies. Oh,
Yes.
good. Cool. Then how do you go about the accountability? Like, how do you check in with your clients? What should people be doing?
Well, I mean, I'm a big believer in daily accountability. So with my weight loss clients, essentially what they're doing is every single day they have certain activities that they have to do, gamified fun activities. And then by the end of the day, they check in with their points. All right. So at 10 p.m., for example, I have a virtual coach that works for me, and she goes in and checks the back end systems to see how many points they do. So for example, if you checked in with a low amount of points, she's going to call you out. She's going to say, hey, what's going on? How come you didn't do so well today? People, they're going to explain why, but essentially it allows me to take on hundreds of online clients and not have to worry about so much specific data. It's more about just checking the overall points,
It's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you're able to program that into Lean Buddy, or how do they send you that data as a trainer?
Yeah, they basically programs it so the data goes into one place. So instead of having multiple things, checking emails, checking text messages, Skype messages, the people are told to use Lean Buddy as their main assessment and accountability tool. So they just send in their points into that.
Just checking out, they've got you as a feature testimonial. It's awesome. It's cool, man. guess that's a lot of stuff that you know. Like, what else do you need to know going into the online world as a personal trainer?
Well, I think it's understanding direct response marketing, right? So you're very wise in that department. And I think any personal trainer, any coach that wants to do well online, they have to be a student of direct response marketing. And actually today I gave a seminar on this. A lot of people say, like, where do I get started with direct response marketing? Well, most people don't know what it is, right? So there's two types of marketing. There's brand marketing, which is like Calvin Klein, a huge ass billboard in Times Square that Calvin Klein jeans. You can't track it. You don't know how many pairs of jeans it's selling. Those are what billion-dollar companies do. But small businesses, people like you and I, we want to use direct response marketing. So a great example, direct response marketing 101 is a Facebook ad, okay? You spend $10 in ad spend, and ad shows for a certain amount of time. You see how many clicks it gets. If you get one person to buy from the ad, there's a ROI that's trackable. So you know that if I spend $10 on an ad, it makes me $30 in income, then there's an ROI. So if I spend $100, then I'll make $300. So essentially it's a smarter way of tracking your marketing. And for people like us that don't have billions of dollars of marketing spend, we could really maximize every single dollar that we put into our business.
Brilliant. So really you're looking for the biggest, especially as a PD starting off, because they need those quick gains really fast, get some wins on the board. So get your training program set up. Go through AJ, go through whatever. Just make sure you create an online platform. Then get something like Lean Buddy and start getting clients through the door. I think so many trainers are, I need a website. I need to do this. I need to make sure my Facebook page is branded properly. No, your number one goal starting out is to get customers through the door, give them an amazing experience.
Exactly. And I was going to ask you, because you obviously are very wise with marketing. Like, if a person wanted to just get started with direct response marketing, where would you send them?
In terms of learning, or in terms of
learning the basics of it?
Okay. You always go to the classics. Classic books. So Schwartz, etc. So Schwartz leads some of the amazing direct response writers. Actually, the best one right now would probably be Brian Kurtz's book, thelegendsbook.com. Go to that website. Read that book first, because it kind of summarizes all the major points of last 150 years of direct response, and then you can dig into the other bits and pieces. I think that's
Brian Kurtz is a friend of mine, wise dude, and definitely has so many years. He's actually a living legend. He has a great book, definitely. I personally love Dan Kennedy. I always tell people to start with the No BS books. That guy's like, man, I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah, Dan's got some good stuff. I think there's some people who don't agree with everything he does, but you can't fault his results. It works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, did you get into his talking book, the No BS Public Speaking or something like that?
I've read every single No BS book. So, I mean, the older ones are better because he was writing it himself, but then he has all these new authors that are doing it and obviously trying to monetize the brand. But yeah, I see. But yeah, the Legends book, phenomenal. And like you said, Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising, Scientific Advertising, Claude Hopkins.
Breakthrough Scientific.
Yes.
If you read those three, you're really worlds apart from everyone else in the online space, just because
fundamentals.
No one does the work.
Just like in fitness, it's like the fundamentals: squat, bench press, deadlift. If you just do those three moves, you're going to create an amazing physique, right? With marketing, it's the fundamentals of direct response copywriting.
I think people are looking for that magic bullet. Everything like, I need the magic bullet. Well, no, start with the basics and you'll get the result regardless.
Exactly.
Dude, this has been awesome. I'm trying to think of what else should I be asking you right now that people need to know.
Well, let's talk about, in terms of,
a little bit of smirk going there.
Yeah.
What are we thinking? Dude, I'm curious about spirituality, because you've gone into some interesting stuff in that space. I think I sense something's going on there with you recently. Could you just give us a bit more insight what's going on that even if it is a bit cuckoo for most of people, you might think it's cuckoo for most people in the audience. I'm curious what's going on myself.
You know, I'm a big believer in basically programming yourself for success, you know, and like in psychology, essentially the philosophy is like you are born with a specific software, let's say, right? A software system that is your beliefs, your vision of the world, and also your behaviors. And that's brought about by your environment, your parents, your genetics, and so many experiences shape that, right? And as we get older, we want to do things in our life, like have a great relationship, start a business, get in shape, become happier. And there's all this programming that is like our internal software that is kind of like not conducive towards the goals that we want. So in studying psychology and kind of learning a lot about behavior change, I was always so fascinated by what makes certain people super successful, where they have it all. They're wealthy, they're in shape, they're in great relationships, and they're happy all the time. And how do some people just live this life of being a victim, right? They're broke, they're miserable, they're lonely, they're fat. So how do certain people leave different paths? And I learned so much about just how our beliefs shape our destiny. So I said, if our beliefs shape our destiny, how can we reprogram our beliefs, right? So you have a computer that has bad software, the whole computer malfunctions. Now, how can you reprogram the software, add something new, and have a very powerful computer? It's the same thing with us. So with me, it's just like looking at like the human journey and how do we optimize ourselves to really get what we want out of life.
It's awesome. Yeah, man, that's brilliant. Talking about relationships, I see you're sort of what are you doing? Are you seeing someone at the moment? Are you having a lot of fun? What's your MO in life right now?
You just asked a very awkward question. No, I'm just kidding. I'm currently single, you know, single and dating. Yeah. Okay. But I'm fascinated by relationships. I think it is pretty cool. I find it interesting how like two people could just connect and just be like, well, that's it. We're going to ride this forever. Just me and you. And I find it fascinating. Just the whole aspect of love and relationships where, you know, obviously everyone wants this amazing love story notebook type of relationship, and other people just settle for mediocre. So it's just something that I've always been intrigued with. And also looking at like psychology in terms of evolutionary psychology. Man,
business and relationships. Like you find the way people think about relationships or the way they behave in the relationship does impact how they behave and act in their own business. That's what I find.
That is so true. Yes, exactly. I'm great at selling the deal, but I suck at maintaining the deal. So totally true.
It could also be the fact that you want something with more depth, the same thing you do with your business. Like you're not going to settle for something that doesn't have that spark, that intimacy, whatever it is that you want to call it.
You know, that's a great point of view. I mean, it's that old adage, right? It's like how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And our smallest acts is essentially how we do everything, you know? It is so true. And I love that. I love that correlation to the whole business and relationship parallel, definitely.
Life is relationship. I think business, so often we turn business into a transactional nature, but when we truly start progressing business, it really comes back to relationship with me, with you, with the people that we serve. It's if you can connect with them on a deeper level and really serve them, that's when you become the world becomes limitless to you at that point, I believe.
Absolutely. Just like in sales, right? It's kind of like the person who just goes on Facebook and lets private messages people and says, "Hey, you want to buy my shit?" It's like the guy that goes to a bar and he's like, "Hey, you want to have sex? You want to have sex? You want to have sex?" I mean, most women would turn him down. Maybe out of 100 women, one will be like, yes. So out of 100 private messages, one person may take your offer, but that's not the way to go about it, right? It's obviously the courting process.
But it's also, you come from a place where you have no value. Like, why? Okay, let's talk with marketing. Why would you want to go out with the person who's approaching everyone and say, "Hey, do you want to come with me? Come over with me. Come over with me." No, you want the person who is a little bit hard to get, who does deliver a little bit of mystique, a little bit of mystery up front. They give you a little bit of value up front before even asking anything from you. That's the guy, that's the girl you want to go home with. And same with marketing. It's the same sort of, I guess, psychological approach I find.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, unless you're really good at sales, you could close the deal the first night. But typically, you want to be able to.
Even if you can close the deal the first night, you still want to position yourself as the most desirable alpha or whatever you want to call it in the room.
Absolutely, 100%. Obviously, it's not about just the transaction, but it's about the relationship, right? It's about making the sale, but also the long-term value of the client, 100%.
We've taken this conversation all over the place. Where to next? Is there anything else that you leave the audience with? I think just one of your main things you like to instill in your students.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing for me, I think, like going into my intention, we're going into a new year. For me, it's being like more present, I think really coming to find out that life happens in the present moment. And right now we're in a world where like so many things are competing for our attention, from Facebook and Instagram and text messages, and technology just fervently calling our attention. And I think in a world of chaos, presence is so powerful, right? So presence with your clients, if you're on the phone with someone, you're fully there, right? You and I, we're here together. We're not distracted. I'm not checking my phone. We're here, right? And we're serving others, being present to ourselves, being present in your relationships and your friendships. But, I think as an entrepreneur, a lot of times we're caught up in the future vision, right? Adding another zero to our bank account, having the next level of fame, more followers, more prestige. But obviously it's great to have a vision, but the most powerful thing you could do is to be fully present and to be grateful for what you have while keeping your eye on the goal. So that's like my big focus, and it's very challenging in this day and age, but that's something I definitely want to leave off with, kind of living more in the now and really embracing like what you have, knowing that you are enough and exactly where you are on your journey is exactly where you need to be.
That's awesome, man. And where can people learn more about you?
Yeah, super simple. We're connected on Facebook. Just click on this and you'll get my Facebook page. I love to share, contribute. I put a lot of content, videos, stuff like this. But my website, onlinesupercoach.com, that's my main hub. I do a lot of seminars and retreats. I live in New York, so a lot of them are based out here. I run retreats out of my house, seminars in New York City. So if you're wanting to learn online coaching, the systems, the marketing, the sales funnels, the delivery, come to one of my seminars. I'd be happy to serve you. Or you could check out my podcast. Everything's on my website, though. You go there, and that's your central hub to really get to know more about what I do.
That's awesome. Man, thank you so much. It's been awesome, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Love what you do, and it was an honor to be on the show, man.
Yes.
Cheers.